All right, we are live on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and do the saddest part of Shabbat morning and mute us all now. We'll get started and then I'll share our Siddur. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see your faces again and be with you this Shabbat morning. We'll get started. Some words of gratitude. No matter what happens in our lives, how our days go, we're taught that we are supposed to start with this practice of saying thank you. Specifically, thank you that our souls were restored. So whatever is going on today, we'll just take a moment to pause. And I want to invite you to think of one thing that you are feeling grateful for this morning. So good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to those who have just joined us. We'll join together. For those wearing a talit this morning, we can say our blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit. Amen. How good it is that we get to gather together. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. Now, this first line, Ma tovu, how good. Ohalecha, your tents, O Jacob. Now, your dwelling places, Mishkanotecha Yisrael. Now, this was a blessing originally said over the Israelite camp, over the people camped in the wilderness. How great are your tents? How great are your dwellings? How amazing is this community? And we spend a lot of time these days in our own tents, in our dwelling places. And sometimes these places of ours, our surroundings, can start to seem mundane or get old for us. But one thing to remember, the tov, the good. So we'll just sing that first line, those first two lines. Ma tov, oh, We'll sing it one more time, and I want you to take a look around your physical surroundings. I want you to think of one thing that you're grateful for in your physical surroundings today, in your home. So we'll continue our blessing Asher Yatzar for our bodies, whatever physical state that we are in this morning. We are here, whether our bodies are working perfectly or working with a lot of trouble. They are working just enough to have us gather for this Shabbat. So we'll say together, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umachli la'asot. Moving our thoughts from our physical bodies, our physical selves, to what our bodies encapsulate, our souls. We're taught that gift of breath, that gift of life was breathed into us. Elohai neshama. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorani. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorani. Elohai neshama shenatata bi Shabbat Shalom to those who have just joined us, and a reminder to please go ahead and keep yourselves muted so that we can all sing together. While we can't hear everyone's voices at once, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see your faces, to know that you're singing along. And one of the benefits of this Zoom space for those of us singing and praying, if you are not someone who was inclined to sing particularly loud in everyday services, right? If we're gathered in person in a sanctuary, you have absolute freedom to join. So please do raise your voices at home. Make yourself an instrument. Use whatever you got. Use your table as a drum. If you have shakers at home, get those out. Whatever you want to do, however you need to move your body. Please, this is our time, and you have some added freedom in this space. So look at it as added freedom for yourselves to pray and worship rather than confinement of being in our homes. So thinking about that worship, those instruments in our lives, Psalm 150, hallelujah. I'll invite you to rise for our Baruch Hu, either physically or rising in spirit, whatever is comfortable for you as we join together in our call to worship. We'll continue with our Shema, and I want to invite you to take each word as a breath. We've been doing the past 2 weeks this idea that Shabbat connects us to the day of rest, to the story of creation and the creation of human beings, where we read that God breathed our life into us. So our breath, something that we don't think about often, is something that is so formative and that is holy. And so as we say these holy words of Shema, I invite you to take each word as a breath, going at your own pace, and we'll join up for the second line. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Can be seated. We continue in words of V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha v'techa uv'lechtecha v'derech u'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'chayu l'totafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kidoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eret Mitzrayim liot lahem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Our Micha Mocha, our song of freedom. Adonai, legs. Feel that sense of freedom in your bodies if you can, if that means moving around. Feeling anything that has constriction in your body and trying to let that open into the expanse of freedom. We continue with our Amidah. Again, I invite those who are able to rise, rising physically or rising in spirit. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agit tehilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוהר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ, כבודו אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו ומלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם. אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You can be seated. We continue this special song for Shabbat, Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. כששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות וברית עולם. We'll read together this prayer for this day of Shabbat. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat, to which we say, Amen. So now we take a few moments to share things that we are feeling gratitude for, our portion of the Amidah, our Hoda'ah section, our time to express the blessings that each of us individually experience, along with those other blessings of our Amidah that we have gone through, and that way we can join all of our blessings, all of the things that we are grateful for, not just experiencing them as ourselves, but experiencing them with this beautiful holy community. So if there is anyone who is thinking of something that you are feeling grateful for, I would invite you either to unmute yourself and share out loud so we can hear your voices, or if you would like to type in our chat for those of us who are on Zoom, and I can read out loud. So is there anything that anyone is thinking of this morning? Doreen.
Yes.
Oh, does Fran want to go first?
Fran, how about Fran and then Doreen?
Okay.
Either way, my grandson passed his driving test.
Oh.
Mazel tov to him. Very exciting.
So at 16, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Doreen, what about you?
You know, this morning I thought about this question coming up, and there wasn't anything in particular I wanted to say. And then I got a text from my friend at work who suddenly went in for brain surgery because they found out she had an aneurysm. And I was waiting to hear from her. And this morning she texted me and said everything went well and she's home recuperating. So that's what I'm so grateful for today.
God, and refuah shlema to her. Anybody else who wants to share something out loud? Mona, and then Pam. Oh, we got to
unmute myself. Okay. Well, I'm grateful because this week, for the first time, I went on the subway. I had to go downtown Brooklyn. And, you know, we were all afraid of the subway, but I have to say it was immaculate. The stations were immaculate. The train was immaculate. And I'm grateful that I was able to walk up and down the steps because there was a lot of steps, and I made it through. And I was grateful that physically I was able to do it, and physically and mentally, you know. So I'm grateful for that.
Grateful that you were able to be safe in that journey. Pam, how about you?
Yeah.
Mona, first, if you would communicate that to Joni. Joni works for the MTA, and that's part of her job, to make sure that those cleaners, that they outside cleaning crew that they hired, gets it clean. So I'm sure that she would be very interested in hearing.
You know, I actually wanted to say something to a worker there. I didn't see anybody, but I really wanted to congratulate them. And I don't know why it had to take this pandemic that they couldn't clean the subways during the night, because nobody seems to be complaining. It's not as though they can't get around. There are buses. When they had all the construction, when we had to go on a bus to go down from Kings Highway to downtown Brooklyn, somehow we all managed to do that. And
well, Mona, I don't want to cut you up, but I'm gonna move us along so we can hear from some other folks.
Okay, sorry.
I'm gonna be quick. I'm grateful that the heat has not started yet.
It was pretty hot to me yesterday, but yes, it's grateful to still be able to be outside. Definitely. Anybody else have anything you want to share? Well, for all of these blessings, for all of the blessings of our community, for these little joys and big joys that we experience every day, we are grateful and we share in our gratitude. And I'm going to go ahead and share our Siddur once again. So we'll now take a few moments for silent prayer, using this time to go inside the reflections and meditations of your hearts and souls. Yehi Ratzon, Yimefi, Vehegyon Libi, Lefanecha, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, Holy One, our rock and our Redeemer, to which we say, Amen. So we now transition to the Torah section. I'm going to share our blessings and a reading for today. So this week we are in the Torah portion, Matot Maseh in the book of Numbers. And we're getting ready to wrap up this journey that we have been on throughout the wandering in Numbers. And we'll explore some of that text. We've seen so far in Numbers, the people have been in the wilderness for a long time now. There have been quite a few instances that analysts of text like to call complaint narratives, that the Israelites are a little bit frustrated, and they express that pretty freely time and again. And Moses, of course, is in the position of leadership, trying to be the intermediary between God and the Israelites. Moses himself being an imperfect leader at time. We saw in the last few weeks that Moses himself, was known to get upset and not behave in a leadership role as well as God might have wanted. But today we are back in the crowd of people. We have also had a census of all of the people, all of the tribes last week to see who is our population. And so we'll get into our portion for this week. And we will join together for our Torah blessings. I actually want to invite anyone on Zoom. Would you like to have the kind of honor of the Aliyah? I know we're not at the Torah, but the honor of helping us lead our blessings this morning so we can add another voice in? If so, unmute yourself. If not, we can just all do them together.
I'll be happy to.
It would be wonderful.
Okay. Should I start?
All right, and if you want to, we can rise for these blessings. Go for it.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarak.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Ne'elam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher bacha banu michol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Thank you, Ellen, for contributing your beautiful voice to our blessings, making them sweeter.
Thank you.
All right, my friends. So we are in Numbers 31. And we are in Parshat Matot Maseh. And what we've seen just before this, we had a few verses closing up Numbers chapter 30. And we saw a few different rules on what to do if people took oaths and how oaths must be upheld. Now we're going to switch our themes a little bit. I'm going to give you a taste of the Torah itself to hear some of the chanting, and then we'll get into the text. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, Nakom nikmat b'nei Yisrael me'et hamiryanim achar te'asef el amecha. Vaydaber Moshe el ha'am lemor, hechal Su me'itchem anashim latzava vayihyu al Midyan latet nikmat Adonai b'Midyan elef lamate lechol matot Israel tishlechu Latzava. And Ellen, would you be so kind as to lead us in these closing blessings again?
Sure. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet b'chayim olam nata pituchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. All right, thank you. So I just want to bring us to the text of these first few lines. The Lord spoke to Moses, Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, avenge the Israelite people on the Midianites, then you shall be gathered to your kin. Moses spoke to the people saying, let men be picked out from among you for a campaign, and let them fall upon Midian to wreak God's vengeance on Midian. You shall dispatch on the campaign 1,000 from every one of the tribes of Israel. So I'm going to stop sharing this just so we can see each other's faces again. So this Torah portion, it's a bit problematic in a lot of ways when you read this. So it starts out, I told you, it gives us some rules on oaths, on making oaths and breaking oaths, and I would say that I think it's fair to say that that text it's a little bit problematically gendered, talking about different rules for women and what women specifically are not allowed to do in their time. And now we get to this the rest of this double Torah portion is going to focus on this war, this mission that Moses is sending the people. And where is he sending the Israelites? Members, 1,000 people from every 12, right? We're talking 12,000 people here. That's a giant military campaign. We are sending them to the land of Midian. Does anyone know anything about the Midianites that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think Moses lived with the Sheik of Midian for a while before he went to onto the Hebrew area, I think.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Just kind of general thumbs up, thumbs down. How do we feel about Midian in our Jewish history? Not good, I will tell you that. So this week's portion describes Moses's last mission as the leader of the Jewish people, right? So this is kind of the last hurrah for Moses, and God tells him to organize an army to destroy the nation of Midian. Now, what did Midian do so wrong? Well, they have shown themselves somehow to be enemies of the Jewish people. They are idol worshipers, all of the things that are bad. But this instance, we know that we've lived with other enemies. We've lived with the Philistines right next to us in biblical history, right? We've lived with all of these other people, but the Midianites are going to have this campaign that is so terrible against them. The text is going to go along to say that the soldiers who were sent out to fight from each tribe, representatives of each tribe of the community had to go, and they were told, you need to utterly destroy this community. You need to wipe out the men. They were actually given orders to wipe out men and children of the Midianites, to completely decimate the population. But the soldiers don't do that. They kill some of the men, but they leave the women and children. And Moses and God actually react in a bad way to this, which is one of those things that I find, and I think a modern reader would find a bit disturbing. And so Moses actually says, no, you need to go back. You can leave the kids, but any woman who has had any type of a relationship with a Midianite man needs to be taken out. Now, this is particularly harsh. So the question, we don't have so much information. It kind of worked how I was hoping it would when I asked, what do we know about the Midianites? Because we actually, up to this point, really don't know a lot about them as a people. We haven't had huge stories and ethics about what they've done or not done. And so there's a rabbi, a late 19th century rabbi, Shlomo Ber Schneerson, known as the Rashab. He's actually going to be a descendant of Schneerson, who becomes the leader of Chabad. But before we had that as a full movement, this rabbi, who was a big spiritual practitioner, talked about that in the mystical tradition and in mystical understandings of Judaism. So we're going into kind of some Kabbalistic understandings, that he tries to understand Midian, and he says that the war against Midian is given a profound spiritual interpretation, that Midian is shown to be etymologically related to the Hebrew word for strife or discord. So we're doing a little bit of a play with the Hebrew word Midian, and he's saying that that is going to be related to the word for strife. And so, yeah, we might not know, we might not be given the reasons written out in Torah of what the Midianites are, so, what's wrong with them, but there's something inherent that they have this connection to strife and discord. And so this enemy must be utterly defeated for the Jewish nation to be able to fulfill its role in God's world. Now, in a famous discourse that the Rashab delivered in 1898, he explains why Moses specifically had to lead the war against Midian. When you read this text, especially going through Numbers, you have all of this information about the Israelites who are gathered in the desert, who they are, rules for how they should behave, how they should survive, how they need to unite as a community. And so it does seem a little bit out of place for a reader, just in the context of the greater book of Numbers, that we have this all-out war and we don't know why. And so the Rashab says that Moses had to lead the war against Midian because Moses is described as the most humble man on the face of the earth. And humility is the key to defeating strife. Humility is the key to defeating strife. Moses is humble. Midian represents strife. When a person is driven by his own ego, and we're saying I'm going to say when a person is driven by their own ego, they find it hard to leave room for another. Every little foible is intolerable. Through cultivating a sense of humility, a sense of the smallness of humanity in front of God, we're able to tolerate and even appreciate all of the other people in our community. During this exceedingly difficult time, for Moses, that lesson is most important when Moses was wandering in the desert, when it was a time of great hardship. And I think that we can, his words, the Rashab, this 19th century rabbi, can really speak to us exactly where we are. That humility is the way to combat strife. We have a lot of strife. We are all facing hardships, whether that is the general hardship of our country and our entire world with the pandemic. And that doesn't take away the hardships that we face every day, even without the pandemic. There is so much that each of us are dealing with, so much that we each have to process our own personal strife. And so I think one of these pieces of humility, of being humble, is an instruction for us to take that and understand that this world is hard right now. And if we are feeling that hardship, to give ourselves a little bit of compassion, to be humble that we can't take this on ourselves, that yes, we might be isolated, but we need to reach out to other people and to accept help sometimes, to accept company, especially in the height of loneliness. Not to be too humble to reach out to those around us. And that, when a person is driven by their own ego, it's hard to leave room for another. Yes, this is something a rabbi in 1898 said. It's something that psychologists and sociologists and people who have studied humanity have been saying for years. But it is particularly in these times of our most strife when it's hardest to look at other people in our community, whether that's to look at them and help them, whether that's to look outwards and accept help. But it's exactly these times of most strife when we need to take in those outside voices and that outside help. That, we might not all be Moses, right? We might not all be another great leader. In this week's Torah portion, Moses, it is his last mission. So yes, he's trying to be humble, and also there's a lot that he's up against. We read in the end of Torah that there never arose another prophet, another person like Moses. However, we all are striving to be that prophetic part of ourselves. We all need to stand up and be the best leaders, be the best people that we can be. both for ourselves and others in our community. And this is the way, coming together, recognizing that yes, we are, we are just one person individually, and being able to accept that and say, hey, but as one person, look what Moses was able to do. Look what people throughout time have been able to do. Look what all of these great leaders have been able to do. Look what I can do. Look how amazing it is that each one of us has gotten through the last months, being in a situation, staying home, quarantining, being way out of our routine, to just sit back and humble ourselves and see how amazing we are doing, whatever struggles we're facing, to accept that it is a blessing and a miracle in and of itself that we are here, that we're still able to get together, and to look outwards, to look, if you are someone who has the capacity to, say, I'm doing okay, and maybe I can show support to someone else. What's a way that we could do that? If you are someone who is struggling, and that is okay, that is so normal. If you're someone who's struggling, to be able to say, you know what, I just don't have the energy to do something for someone else, but I need help. Reach out to other people. Say, hey, I'm feeling a little rough. Things are getting to me. And it's when we can face our own humanity and do that, that we can then succeed in these battles that we face. All right, friends, I will share once again our screen, and I want to, oops, that was the wrong one. Sorry about that. I will share our Siddur, and at this time, I want to invite us to think of anyone in our community in need of healing. Give me a second, my screen is glitching. There we go. All right, we can see the Siddur now. So we'll think of those in our communities in need of healing. This week, our Beshert community is thinking of Jesse Sakharoff, Ronnie Turek, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Alan Freemer, Susan Bilecki, Andrew Matsella, Jeffrey Levinson, Michael Luck, Barry Strumpf, Selma Carl, Jacqueline Halpern, Joan Baumgartner, Violet Kopp, Jamie Hershey, Sandy Alfont, Irene Nachinoff, Esther Botlucci, Suzanne Chamow Friedman, Dolores Weinberger, Ingrid Grosso, Roberta Gotthelf, Audrey Cohen, Fran Sisler, Ruth Ryback, John Carfisi, Francis O'Haron, Orlando Aiello, Jean Bryan, Scott, Shelley Oken, Sherry Wiseman, Suzanne Leknos, Florence Schoen, and Jonas Mlenek. And I'll look to see who's shared for those names in the chat. Rebecca Rothstein and Bambi Polk, Andy Glantzman, Ira and Dina Roth, Sarah Weston, Linda Silverman, and Susan Fishkin Hurwitz. We'll join together saying these words. Mishaberach Avotenu ve'imotenu. May the Holy One heal and send healing, healing of mind, healing of body, healing of spirit to all of our loved ones who we think of. Also, Suzanne Shuro. We now turn to our Aleinu. I'll invite people to rise. Aleinu l'shabech l'adon hakol, l'teit gdula yotzer b'reshit, shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo b'govchei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, ve'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'nemar V'chaya Adonai Lemelech Al Kol Haaretz Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad. We can be seated. We now turn our thoughts to loved ones who are no longer with us, those who we've lost in recent days and at this time in seasons past. And our Beshert community this week is specifically remembering those recently deceased Elaine Gordet, Asher Graham Pinsky, and observing the yahrzeits of Evelyn Blattberg, Karen Eichel's mother, of Aaron Bluestone and Peter A. Bluestone, Joanna Bluestone's father. Peter Bluestone, Joanna Bluestone, and Aaron Bluestone's father, of Lillian Drucker, Elliot Drucker's mother, of Tilliot Drucker, Elaine Drucker's mother-in-law, of Josiah Morris Kane, Michael Kane Schaefer's father, of Helen Moldovan, Maddie Kay's mother-in-law, of Adeline Reich, Dorothy Goldberg's mother, of Joseph Roth, Hannah Roth Seavey's father, of Nora Shore, Sherry Byrne and Milton's Platt sister, and Thea Platt Glasser's aunt, of Barbara Shore, Susan Handworker's loved one, and Joshua Steiner, Ruth Biles's brother. And I will look to our chat to see other names that we have added.
It's my mother's yard site, Anna Arnowitz.
Anna Arnowitz, thank you. Let's see. And also we have Freya Cashman, Delphine Wolf, Michelle Budin. Mona, were those for yard site or were those Misha Beirach? Make sure we get those. We also have Susan Shuro, Della Cohen, Lila Raymond, Mason Lay, Iris Merlis. If I mispronounce any names, you can please unmute yourself and name them. Also Jason Dworkin, Selma Gold, Jeff Harris, Dr. Mark Leibovitz, Dr. Tina Polk, Sheila Katan, and Derek Bishop. If there's anyone else who you would like to name, I would invite you to do so, Freema.
Carol Landry.
And I can't see everyone, so you can just go ahead and share a name. All right, we'll continue with our Mourners Kaddish, Kaddish Yatom. If it's your custom, I'll invite you to rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, bi'alma divarach yirutei v'yanlich malchutei, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kdusha b'richu, le'ela min kol bir chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemayim, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. You can be seated. So just a few words of announcement. Our president is not here, so I get the honor of sharing a few things coming up. So next Saturday night, really hope that you will all join us over Zoom at 7:30 for Beshert's open mic night. We have a lot of really special and very eclectic performances lined up for you. And we're going to be starting off with a young family story hour. And some of our friends in this space will be reading stories, and music, magic, you name it, we've got it. So hope to see you there. Bashert, we also have our honey fundraiser. You can go on our website to find out information. It's got everything there of ordering your honey before the high holidays for a sweet new year. Go ahead and make sure you get in your orders soon. Next week, our regular Torah study continues. Sam will be taking a break and I will be teaching for the next 2 weeks. We're going to step away from Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, and we are going to get into some other topics for the next week, 2 weeks. Be sure to join us on Tuesday and see what we're gonna join in about. And I think that's it, unless any of you lovely folks can think of anything I'm missing that we need to announce. All right, great. So for our closing song, these words, Ose Shalom, needing just a little bit of peace, 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 now more than ever before. Let's see. 1 second. Sorry, my screen just cut out for a second. This might be a new tune for some of us, but I wanted to try it out this morning. Ose shalom bimrola, uyase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimrola, uyase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimrola. Shalom aleinu, Friends, Shabbat Shalom, a name that I forgot before our Kaddish, John Lewis, who passed away yesterday. A great loss, especially talking about Shalom, the subject of peace. An amazing person who fought for peace and equality, a true giant of civil rights. So we also remember him today. I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom, just a couple words of blessing before we go on our way. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, may God be kind and gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yisem lecha shalom, may you feel the presence of holiness and peace wherever you go. Shabbat Shalom. I will stop